The ability to be persuasive is very important in everyday life. You need to be persuasive if you're trying to persuade your toddler to take a nap, if you're trying to persuade your client to buy that package that your company offers, or you're just trying to persuade your boss to use a new method. Aristotle wrote about the art of persuasion, and he wrote that there are three primary appeals of persuasive arguments. And according to him, a good persuasive argument has all three. So the first appeal when it comes to being persuasive is the credibility of the speaker. A credible, knowledgeable, and trustworthy speaker is more likely to be believed by the listeners. For example, if you are hearing about global warming from an environmental scientist who actually knows what they're talking about, that makes it so much more credible in your mind for you to accept that point compared to some random stranger talking about mental health on TikTok, for example. So, how can you make your arguments or statements more persuasive? Is by being knowledgeable and credible in the points that you're trying to bring. It also helps if you're trustworthy and people just genuinely like you. That itself can also make your points more persuasive in their minds. The second appeal when it comes to persuasive arguments is appealing to logic and reason. When you are able to present your points and resonate with your listeners' logic and reasoning, it helps your audience make sense of your point, making it credible from an intellectual perspective. So, this I think is the most straightforward way to make your arguments credible. And there are many ways, many simple ways for you to do this in a presentation. You could include stats, you could include data, you can support with evidence or examples, and it creates a reasoning in the minds of your listeners. The third appeal, and in my opinion, one of the strongest and most persuasive, is emotional appeal. When you can create a genuine connection with your listeners, when your message can bring emotional weight, it becomes more sticky in the mind of your listeners. It becomes more memorable and more compelling. And it is more likely to influence thinking and action. There are many ways for you to become more emotionally appealing in your message as a public speaker. There, you could use vivid imagery in a storytelling. You could be vulnerable and talk about an emotional or personal experience that you had using emotionally charged language. Or you could speak about values that resonate deeply with your listeners. I say that this is, to me, the most influential point because people can be very emotional, and sometimes emotions can actually override logic. Maybe not for long, but it's a very strong influence. So, according to Aristotle, a very good argument has all three elements. So these primary modes of appeal are very important. And I put it to you to try and redesign your next presentation with these three elements in mind. Use one slide for credibility, second slide for logic and reasoning, and the third slide for emotional appeal. And I think your next presentation will be that much more persuasive.